Hello, this is CJ Radune of RotoWire.com here for your Formula One update on the Prime Sports Network. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any motorsports videos all season long, including NASCAR, IndyCar, and of course Formula One. You can access my columns by clicking the link in the description area of the video. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know what is on your mind. So this week coming up, we have Formula One at the United States Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas, the Lenovo United States Grand Prix. But like we do every week, we look back at the last race, and the last race was Max Verstappen, as predicted, clinching the 2023 driver's title. It's been an absolutely dominant year from him, and quite honestly, despite the fact that he clinched the title back in Qatar, it looks like that dominance is going to continue. Max is not one to let his foot off the accelerator, and he's going to be going for as many Grand Slams and race wins as he can possibly get before this year ends. So he finished second to Oscar Piastri in the Saturday sprint race, and that was enough for the title to be decided. I think he only had to finish fifth or sixth in that race on Saturday to have enough to clinch the championship, and he overachieved. And that was the first win, actually, for Oscar Piastri and McLaren, which was fantastic for them. It was a fantastic showing, just as how far McLaren has come since the beginning of the season, particularly Piastri, because if you remember, and you've been paying attention all season, as McLaren have gotten their upgrades, those have typically gone to Lando Norris. And Piastri, once he gets them, maybe a race or two later, he's on equal footing, if not beating Norris, which is really interesting. So Piastri went on to win with McLaren. He even went on to have a great race on Sunday, too. So, however, Verstappen, of course, and Red Bull was the dominant force on Sunday, and that is as usual, just as we've been experiencing every single race. He led all the laps from the pole, grabbed the fastest lap, and won for the 14th time in the season, and he already had the championship in hand from Saturday's results. So just another superb performance from Verstappen and Red Bull. Second on the weekend, again, was clearly McLaren. Piastri won that sprint race, as I said, and Lando Norris came in third. And then on Sunday, they finished second and third in the main race as well. So Piastri, definitely a worthy contender against Norris. And he topped Norris in both races on the weekend. So following the McLaren battle was a Mercedes, Ferrari, Aston Martin scrap back for that best of the rest type of position after that second place battle. And we've been talking about that quite a bit over the past couple of weeks and wondering who's going to stake that claim on the second best of the season behind Verstappen and Red Bull. And I called Ferrari out a number of weeks ago for making that play. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for McLaren, unfortunately for Ferrari, McLaren found something extra, and that actually helped them take that step forward in Qatar. So making things a little bit more interesting in Qatar, though, was Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso. They made up some of the ground they had lost in the past couple of weeks, and I had been wondering where Aston Martin had gone after that early season strength that they showed. And Alonso actually answered that in Qatar. He got a sixth-place run on Sunday, so we'll see how long that they can keep that going. Quite honestly, though, it looks like it's McLaren's race to lose for second best here behind Red Bull. Ferrari may make it a fight, though. So what was the biggest surprise? The Qatar environment and the Qatar troubles. Wow. Despite that race taking place at night, the combination of the heat, the humidity, track changes, tire issues, that meant that the drivers were really beat up during that race. Logan Sargent actually retired from the race with heat stroke. Esteban Ocon reportedly threw up in his helmet. Lance Stroll reportedly passed out multiple times after the race. There were extremely tough conditions, and all of those guys struggled mightily to overcome them to get to the race finish. So I think the FIA is going to have to revisit the circumstances to see what exactly needs to change to make that easier. Quite honestly, it becomes a dangerous situation when you've got drivers that are passing out, throwing up during the race, etc. One thing I would call out, and one thing I think actually stunted the race, it could have been a better race on Sunday had they not done it, would have been the mandatory pit stops. So teams were required to make at least 3 stops to change tires. They were concerned about the degradation of the tires due to the new surface, and that meant that every single lap, those drivers were putting forth maximum effort at maximum grip levels, and there was just really no chance to really relax. And if you combine that with the heat and humidity and the fact that it's a relatively fast and flowing course, boy, it certainly made it a tough night for all of them. So we'll see what happens to Qatar in the future, see what changes the FIA and maybe Pirelli make in terms of the tires to see if they can help that. So what's happening this week? We are headed to the United States Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas. And I think things will be a bit more normalized this week as it returns for the second of 3 races in the USA. And back to Circuit of the Americas. And this track has been home to Formula One in the United States since 2012. There have been 10 races since then. And this will be another sprint weekend, unfortunately. I think everybody knows that I'm not a fan of the sprint weekends. Thankfully, there's only one more after this too. Verstappen won the last 2 Austin races as well, so that's something to keep in mind. His dominance is likely to continue this week. I think if you're looking for a chance for people to pick up on Red Bull and Verstappen, that might come at Las Vegas when we get to the 3rd United States race here, but I just don't think that that's going to be the case here in Austin. The course itself, it's 5.5 kilometers long. That's a long track, 20 turns, and all those turns were originally modeled off of some of the Formula One's most famous other tracks. But it's a unique track, and it's now unfortunately starting to show some of its age, though. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest factors this weekend. So it's growing old. The ground shifting, weather, rain, old asphalt, etc. Everything is affecting the surface, and it's now actually a really bumpy surface and a bumpy track. And that could be a challenge for teams this week, especially considering it's another sprint weekend. They're going to be trying to find maximum grip and handling, and because of the fact that it's a sprint weekend and Saturday is a really standalone events, that means Friday morning they're going to have to find everything that they need for Sunday. They've got a really short window to get their setups dialed in to be ready for qualifying, and that's really going to impact how they race on Sunday. So long story short, another sprint weekend, not looking forward to it from my perspective. But it does put a lot of pressure on the teams to get everything sorted out early on Friday so that they can make sure that they've got the best possible package for Sunday. So what are the storylines? What are we going to be following this weekend? Well, the championship is over, as I said. Max Verstappen has got that clinched. So we now start looking at the battle for second. So will the McLaren Surge hold through to the end of the season? They're now the front runners in my mind to finish off that battle behind Red Bull for the title of best of the rest. Even the battle between teammates is heating up, with Piastri beating Norris in both Qatar races last time out. So even if McLaren walks away with second, it looks like the battle between those 2 teammates could still actually make something of a storyline exciting through the rest of the year, even though the championship is decided already in favor of Red Bull and Max Verstappen. Second thing we're going to be looking for, it's another sprint weekend. Saturday sprints are generally great previews for Sunday's races. However, that makes wagers for Sunday's races significantly less profitable. So if you're looking at those odds on your screen, they're unprofitable as they are already. Sunday picks, you've got to make them early, especially on a sprint weekend, because Saturday is such a preview of what we're actually going to see in the longer format on Sunday. And those odds change dramatically, and the profitability, the ability to make money in Formula One is really, really tight. So definitely get your picks in early this weekend, just like any other sprint weekend. However, the fact that it is a sprint weekend, as I said, the circuit is going to be another talking point this weekend. It's well known by the teams, but so they're going to have a lot of data to make those setups and try to hone things in early. But those bumps are really going to cause them trouble. How do they get their cars to be able to be as fast as possible, as stiff as possible, while also allowing them to be able to not get thrown off the track through the bumpy sections? Very short window for them to do that. Again, all of this plays into Red Bull's hands. Therefore, I think it's going to be another Max Verstappen Red Bull weekend. He's going to be my top choice again. However, if you're looking for an upset, while it's probably not going to come this week, I'd probably choose Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri. And quite honestly, if you look at them both in at 1,200 or 12-1 for this race, you could pick either one, or you could go with McLaren as the team play. Still, I think it's going to be Red Bull and Verstappen. We're probably going to have to wait till Las Vegas before we get somebody or a situation where Red Bull might be able to truly be challenged by McLaren. Last thing we're looking at, Ricciardo is back. After injuring his hand in Holland, Daniel Ricciardo is making his return to the field in Austin. He's been out for 5 races, and he's coming back to his AlphaTauri squad. Liam Lawson, he replaced Daniel in those last races, and the team delivered upgrades since that time. So Ricardo's actually been out of the car. He's going to come into a new one with the AlphaTauri upgrades. And if you remember correctly, Liam Lawson actually scored points for AlphaTauri while he was substituting. So while everything is still new to Ricardo, getting used to that team, the upgrades are going to make it a completely different car than what he drove before. I think Daniel Ricciardo will be able to get the maximum out of that car over these last couple of races. Ricciardo has been on the podium twice at Circuit of the Americas, and we'll see if he can deliver points for the team this week. So that's really what we're looking at here as we head to Circuit of the Americas. Again, to summarize, I think everything is shaping up with the sprint race weekend and the known track, the bumpy issues with the surface. I think it's really shaping up again to be another Max Verstappen and Red Bull weekend. McLaren may be able to get close. I think we're looking at McLaren, Lando Norris, and Oscar Piastri being both on the podium. But behind that battle, it's going to be an Aston Martin, Mercedes, Ferrari scrum, I think, yet again. Like I said, we'll wait till the return later on this season to Las Vegas in the United States. Maybe that's going to be the next best chance for people to be able to truly catch Max Verstappen and Red Bull. So in summary, Max Verstappen, top choice. If you want to go with an upset this week, look at Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, and McLaren. So again, I am CJ Radune of RotoWire.com here for the Prime Sports Network. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss any motorsports videos all season long. That includes NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One. And you can access any of my columns by clicking the link in the description area of the video. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to let me know what is on your mind. And until next time, keep it out of the fence.